Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Robert Rivera with another edition of Who's On First, the show. I have Dr. Kurt Ickes, and he is the writer of Win the Next Pitch. Tell us all about yourself.
Great. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I'm Dr. Ickes. I taught clinical psychology at Ashland University for about 30 years. Been working with the baseball team for 16 or 17 years. Worked with high school baseball, softball teams, and as well as professional players. And one of the things I thought about for probably the last 8 or 10 years is coming up with a way to teach what I teach the older players to younger players. If we can get them started earlier, they're going to have more success and they're going to enjoy the game more. So when I retired, I started writing, and I wrote Win the Next Pitch. And I followed that up with a softball book, and I think you have it there. It's called You Got This. And same age group, different story, but same lessons. And both of them, thankfully, are doing very well on Amazon. Both of them are bestsellers, with Win the Next Pitch being the #1 baseball book on Amazon right now. And the softball book, You Got This, has been #1 selling softball book since October. So both doing well. What I'm trying to do is introduce players to the mental game, and trying to do it in a way that's fun, easy to understand. And it's been a great project.
I read your book. It was a pretty quick read, guys. I got my little notes and tabs and stuff like that. I thought it was really cute. It was really cool. It's the mental side, the mental skills for younger players. There's Jack and there's Matt and their friends. they're on a baseball team, and
I came Oak Grove Owls. That's the team they're on. Originally, as I'm working with college players, and when we start working, we got an excellent Ashland University's Division II. We've got an excellent baseball team. We just made the regionals again. I start working with our players in August on the mental game. And so what I was seeing was, from August to when we start playing in March, April, May, our players really start getting good at these mental game skills, and they've never been exposed to them. Very few players. So that was the starting point. I thought, wow, what if we could do 8, 10, 12-year-olds? So when I retired, I said, this is going to be my project. As you can imagine, there were a couple of challenges, right? You have to write it in a way that they're going to read it, right? If they aren't going to read the book, then they're not going to learn anything.
Right.
So there's an author that I read when I was a kid. His name is Matthew Christopher. He's a famous children's sports book author from the 70s and 80s. I thought, I'm going to do what he did, and that is he wrote these engaging stories where kids play like Jack and Matt, and they're on a team and they play through the season. And so that's what I thought I would do, is write it in story form, work on creating characters that a 10-year-old picking up this book would say, wow, that's me. They can identify with Jack when he strikes out and talking to himself about how nervous he is, facing this guy on the cover there, the Troy Tigers pitcher who's just dominating everyone. And so young reader can identify with that kind of feeling. And then to see him learn the skills, right? Jack go through the book and say, this is how you do it, and this is what we learned. And then what I did, of course, being a college prof, I always had to have a review section at the end, right? Test on Tuesday. I have a review section in the back, and I give coaches and parents some ideas on how to help their son practice these skills. So it's fun. It's fun stuff.
I saw it's not just geared towards the kids, but I mean, some of these coaches, they can use some of this stuff, and especially the 3 T's. Explain the 3 T's to everybody.
Sure. The whole goal when you play baseball or softball is you must be present on that next pitch, regardless of how you did on the last pitch, the last at bat, last game. Or we don't want you thinking about, well, if I don't get a hit here, we'll lose, or the coach will sit me. We want you to be right here, right now on this pitch. And so that's why I call the book Win the Next Pitch. Okay. Now, when you're 8, 10, 12 years old, that's tough to do, because you're playing, you're in the game, you've got the fans screaming, you've got parents and coaches talking to you, you've got the other team out there. And so all of the skills, whether it's the 3 T's or the pre-pitch routine that I teach, they're all aimed at the same exact thing. And that's teaching kids how to quickly get back right here, right now. And the deep breathing is in there. So they feel nervous. They know how to quickly calm themselves down. So those skills help them get back so they can win that next pitch. The thing is, and I want to tell the folks who already have this book or getting the book, is you just got to practice. You ask about coaches and parents. Do you want me to go into that, or do you have a specific?
No, you can whatever you want. That's fine. I'm good with it.
All right, great. Well, one of the reasons why the team I'm working with has adopted these skills and they've learned them and used them is because the parents and the coaches are on board. Okay. Here's the main thing. When you're trying to play baseball or softball, I don't care if you're 8 and under or you're playing college in the College World Series. When you're trying to perform, right? You're in the batter's box and the pitcher's about ready to wind up and the ball's coming. We want you to have what's called external narrow focus, which means external, you're not thinking anything. You can't be telling yourself, get your hands here, watch your feet. It has to be on the release point if you're a hitter. It can't be external focus on the fans or their players or your coach or your mom or dad telling you something from the stands. So my parents and my coaches get that. So at the instant of performance, and see if this makes sense to you, Robert, we're going to make sure that we're not doing anything that makes that player think. So our little 10-year-old who's in there, we don't want her thinking about where her hands are. We don't want to tell her, hey, watch the change up. That's not going to help her. It's a reaction sport, and we have, you can talk to young players between at bats, but don't overload them during the at bat. And I think it's hard, and it's really hard for parents. I was one, I had a son, daughter play, and you have to bite your tongue because you're thinking, wow, if I just say that one thing, if I just give him that one little hint, that'll help him get a hit here, right? But it really doesn't. At the time of performance, it doesn't help. Shouting encouragement, fine, love it. Best hitter, you'll get your hit. Great, you can do all that you want. But don't give them instructions while they're trying to hit.
This reminds me of the movie Love of the Game, when the pitcher goes up and he takes that deep breath and he goes, all right, clear the mechanism.
Yo, Chapo! Yo, suck!
Clear the mechanism.
Exactly.
And everything just woof.
Exactly.
And all he sees is that catcher and the glove and what's his next pitch. He doesn't see anything else. He doesn't hear anything else. And it's everything is faint, very faint.
You're in the moment. And when players are in the zone, whether they're hitting, pitching, or pitching, they'll tell you they don't hear anything. They'll tell you how the game slows down. And the reason the game slows down when you're playing well and you're in the zone is that you're so focused on the ball as it's coming to the plate. Imagine your eyes as a high-speed camera, and here comes the ball out of the pitcher's hand, and you're taking pictures of it frame by frame all the way into the plate. Well, if you're 100% on the ball and you're not distracted by your own thoughts or the fans or anything, then you're going to get every frame of that ball as it's coming in, and you're going to see it better, and it's going to slow down. That same analogy, when players struggle and that high-speed camera, their brain is taking pictures of like a high-speed camera of the ball coming in, they see the ball out of the hand, and all of a sudden it's halfway there, then it's on them, and then it's by them. See what I'm saying? They don't get it because their mind is distracted just very, very momentarily on other stuff. So we want that external narrow focus, and it comes down to really trusting their swings. I tell my players, you know how to hit. You've taken hundreds and hundreds of swings. You know how to bat. We're not going to worry about our swing as we're walking up to the plate. I'm excited because I'm teaching this whole movement I've got going, and I kind of describe it as a movement because it's really taken off. I'm really excited because I want to see how these players do. And they're learning this at 8, 10, 12. How do they do in high school? And by the time they get to college, they'll have it. They'll have practiced this, and it'll be so much. They'll be so good at it. So when they're playing in the state championship game in high school, and the place is going crazy, and it counts 3-2, hey, they're going to be locked into the softball. Nothing matters. See the ball, hit the ball.
Now the three T's. Take some deep breaths, throw away the mistakes, tell yourself positive things. There's breathing involved, relaxation involved, and there's a positive reinforcement to yourself involved.
The three T's are easy to remember, and kids remember it. One of the things that we talk about I talk about with my older players, and all these books, by the way, both the books I should say, that You Got This and Win the Next Pitch. The idea is we're going to do a series of books. I just finished the second book in the You Got This series for softball, just published 2 weeks ago. It took me about 6 months to write. So I'm working on Win the Next Pitch #2. And one of the things that we'll talk about in the future books, and is what I teach my older players, and that is after you make a mistake, we want to make sure that we don't replay the error. We don't want to replay the mistake, right? Imagine, Robert, that you're playing shortstop, you just missed the ball. They scored 2 runs, innings over. As you're walking to the dugout, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be thinking of seeing yourself miss the ball and say, oh, I should have had it. As you get in the dugout, how about on the way home? Especially if it was an important error that you made. How about the next day, right? So you're going to see it 100 times, the typical player. What that does is unconsciously, it erodes your confidence, because the next time you got the bases loaded and you're at shortstop, what are you thinking? Oh, I hope they don't hit it to me, because what do I do when they hit it to me? Oh, I see the video. I've seen the video. I miss it every time. Yeah. So one of the things we teach our players is never replay the video of you making that mistake. Learn what you should have done. Okay, I need to get in front of the ball maybe, and then see videos of you doing it, and see videos of yourself making fantastic plays. That's mental toughness, and that's what we want.
It's something similar to what I used to teach my kids. You run a movie through your head before you even get up to bat. So you've already seen the at bat. So basically, you're just gonna redo that movie.
That's
and
right.
It was one of those days that a lot of my kids, they kind of like, okay, yeah, the first pitch, if it's in the dirt, I'm going to let it go. But if it's down the middle, I'm going to be aggressive and I'm going to take that cut at it. You're not just back swinging the bat like a lunatic. You're actually sitting there going, close your eyes. Boom. I could see the hit going. I could see that ball flying. I could see me running.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And you can start doing that. They can start doing that on deck. When you're on deck, I also want you to think how fun it's going to be to get a hit off her. And I want you to think about how fun it's going to feel when you get solid contact. And it's going to be so fun as you're going to run down. I think you're exactly right. So you do that visualization, and then you also tap into that feeling of, wow, it's so cool. It feels so great. One of the things I do with younger players, and it's really fun, is after they get themselves a really good hit, and you can try this, and they're back in the dugout or whatever. I always talk to them. I say, what did that feel like when it jumped off the bat and you knew it was in the gap? And their eyes will light up and they get really excited about it. And what you're doing there is just reinforcing and helping their confidence, right? Instead of focusing on negative strikeouts or whatever, they're like, yeah, I can do this. Especially younger kids, I think we can do those things, and that's what we want to do. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we don't forget to catch them when they do make a good play or they have a good at bat, even if they struck out. Teach coaches and parents to catch them when they do something right. And I'm not saying rah, 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 you're the greatest, pump them up in a false manner. But when they do something well, let them know that, instead of just getting in that rut of all I do is correct. Can you imagine if you went to work on Monday and you're trying your best at your job and your boss is following you around all day long, and all he's doing is saying, nope, screwed that up. Nope, messed that up. Come on, you can do better. You can do better. Pretty soon you'd say, wow, this is very fun. Right? But that's what kids do, right? They get those kinds of situations. They're like, who wants to play softball? Who wants to play baseball? I'm quitting. And that's why we lose so many kids by middle school. Now, I'm not saying don't correct, because we need that. That's how they get better. But I'm just saying, watch that. If that's the only thing you're doing, that's not helping.
The mental game is something that a lot of people need to work on. But I also tell them, when you're teaching this to baseball, they can also transfer this out into outside life, not just baseball. Hey, the math test is coming up. I'm stressed out. Oh, wait a minute. I can go back to those 3 T's. Okay, I'm going to take my breath. I'm good at this. I've got this, and I'm going to pass.
What is an overpass? Come on.
And the same with the visualization. Instead of seeing yourself fail, see yourself getting it. I'm smart. I know what this is, self-talk, and see it happen. But you're exactly right. They're really life skills in terms of learning how to control anxiety.
Frustration loading.
Right. And the one thing I cover in the second book,
I got that one too.
it's actually the second book that just I published. The second book talks about controlling what you can control, right?
Okay.
So I'm use that, and it'll be in Win the Pitch too. But basically, trying to teach kids as young as 8 years old that in any kind of game or situation, you can't waste your time and energy focusing on what you can't control: umpires, weather, how good the other pitcher is. Control your attitude, how hard you work, control that you learn something from that experience, good or bad. That's a life skill too, right?
Right.
Can't be wasting a lot of time on fretting about stuff you can't control.
I know when you said you imagine yourself in this book, you imagine yourself Jack. I wasn't a Jack. I was Matt. I have a good story. We were playing in a tournament, and the kid that they put up against us was a kid that was throwing BBs. He looked like Pedro Martinez, and it was just straight gas. And I'm going, man, and you hear it, spot. You're like, oh man, this kid's throwing smoke. What are we gonna do? And my dad tells me, if you can foul him off, you can hit him. He didn't say anymore. He walked away from me. I said, all right, by the second inning, it's my turn to bat. I think I was batting fifth or sixth, something like that. I took one that I didn't even see it. He just boom. And I'm like, whoa. This time I just boom, ball fouled off. And I back out of the bat and I look in the dugout and my dad goes, and I was telling me, put it out. Next pitch, I get the timing in, ding, and I'm off to the races. Well, I wind up at second base, the ball's coming in, and I'm standing at second base, and I take my helmet off and I scream into my dugout, if I can hit him, anybody can hit him. That team got mercied. You guys get your heads together, with that timing. You've done this before. You do it in practice. You've hit those home runs in practice. You've hit those triples in practice. Baseball for me is 80-20. You have 80% mental. If you psych yourself out of the game, guess what? You're going to be out of the game. The other 10% is practice, is something you practice, and the other 10% is natural ability. So, and some of these kids, some of them don't have the natural ability, but that's okay, because you can make it up in practice. You can start getting your footwork. You can start. But for me, 80% of the game is mental.
And I'll tell you that as you go up in level of play from little league to high school to college, it becomes more mental because everybody is good. I mean, when you get little league, you can get that kid who matures early and just throwing BBs, all right? And I can just physically dominate everybody. But when you get to college, everyone's good. And so who's going to win the battle between the pitcher and the hitter? It's going to be the guy with the best mental game. So that's what separates those players out.
In those pressure situations, cream always rises to the top.
The cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
My purpose is to start teaching this at a younger age, that's for sure.
If we catch them early, by the time they get older, we've already got this already down packed, and then we can move on to other aspects of the game. So you had some good news for us before.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. Right. Win the Next Pitch, as of this morning, is out of all of the books on Amazon. I think there are 1.8 million books. We are ranked 375 in the bestsellers on all of Amazon. So it's really taken off, and really couldn't be happier with it. And I'm also on Facebook. So look up Win the Next Pitch, or look up Kurt Ickes, Dr. Ickes on Facebook. Hey, message me. Got baseball questions, mental game questions. I'd be glad to reach out to you. I just enjoy it. I'm retired from the university about 3 years ago, and I sold my clinical practice just this year. And so now I'm retired and I get to do some fun stuff. And so every morning I go and I answer, just like I did you, I answer book messages every day and interact with folks and talk baseball. I just absolutely love it.
Okay. So, I mean, guys, the book is Win the Next Pitch. For you young ladies out there, you got this. This is the softball version. It's the mental game. If you want to read it, it's a quick read. It's really nice. You can find it on Amazon. Dr. Ickes was nice enough to send me these nice the bookmark. All right. It's the mental game of the game. So here's a curveball question for you. Who's your favorite baseball team out there?
Well, I'm from Ohio, so it's the Guardians. But if you find a better manager than Francona, you let me know. That guy gets. I've worked with major league players before, and I've had the pleasure of meeting some of their professional development staff for their baseball. And Dr. Charlie Marr headed it up. He's a famous sports psychologist. You can find him online. He's got books. But he was nice enough to have me up to the stadium a few years ago and before COVID, and they just do a great job with their development, their player development. And a huge part of it is the mental game. As he told me, we don't have the money to go out and buy free agents. We have to develop our players, and they do a super job, as you know, especially with their pitchers. They have to develop players, and then unfortunately, they have to trade them to get younger prospects because of the money situation. But I love the Guardians. Good team.
All right. So when you go to the Guardians game, what are you eating? What do you got in the stadium?
Oh, I don't care if it's the Guardians anywhere. I grab hot dogs, man. Sunday I had a bunch just at the girls softball. Hot dogs and man.
Yeah, it's funny because I went to a baseball game with a friend of mine, and I told him, "You want a hot dog?" He's like, "No, I'm good." Hey, you're eating a hot dog. No, Rob, I'm good. I said, "Hey, it's un-American not to be at a baseball game and eat a hot dog." Okay.
That's exactly
So I was like, you want a hot dog? And he's like, "All right, give me a hot dog." I said, "Okay, that's the answer I'm looking. Don't tell me I don't want a hot dog. You're gonna eat freaking hot dog." Well, if somebody wants to reach out to you, we'll put it in the description below. Guys, Win the Next Pitch. It's a great book. It's an easy read. Ladies, same thing. You got this. All right. And remember, this is not just about baseball. This is about life. And maybe you can be Jack, because Jack was the one that was taught this, or you could be Matt. Which one are you going to be? All right. You're going to be Jack, or you're going to be Matt. All right. Drop us a line. Let Dr. Ickes know which one you are, Matt or Jack. All right. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Ickes. Thank you for being on. I appreciate you sharing this with us. And hopefully in the future, we'll get you back on.
Hey, thanks, Rob. I appreciate it.
All righty. Well, guys, as always, I appreciate you guys being on. There's always the merch. We got merch coming out. So make sure you get some merch. And as we always say here on Who's On First, keep swinging.
If you like the show, please do me a favor. Subscribe. Right. You see it? It's right there. Subscribe, share, like, and don't forget, put that bell on. It'll ding you when I put something else on, all right?